You know, Francesco, one of the things in life that I really bugs me is that people don't always listen to me.
What'd you say?
Right. And everybody feels that way in relationships from time to time.
Mm.
And if you don't hear what somebody else is saying, you're not getting anything out of that conversation because you already know what you know. And you don't know what the other person is going to say. And if you want to have a dialogue, then you got to do some listening. A lot of the time when we're doing shows, I'll get a thought about what I want to say, and for a few seconds I won't listen to you, and then I'm in trouble if you ask me a question.
Mm.
So I have to be careful of that. But we run our lives that way more from an autonomous individual perspective. And when we're really wanting to have a dialogue and explain things to people, we have to change that habit and find out where they're coming from. And that's the basis for a lot of things in healing. You know, as a doctor, if you don't listen to your patient, and that's happening today as the patients are coming in for 5 or 10-minute visits, the doctor walks into the office, goes to the computers, starts fingers working on the computer, and doesn't even know who's there yet. Right. I remember one time when Vicky, my wife, was taking her father to the cardiologist, who was a friend of mine. In fact, we're in the same call group. And the doctor walks in, and they're sitting at a table. He doesn't look at them. He goes over to the bench. And he looks at the chart, and he's looking at the chart, and he's turning the pages. And Vicky says, "Hey, Bob, it's me, Vicky."
Yeah, right.
He looks over and says, "Oh, hi, Vicky. This is my father, Bob."
This is how bad it's gotten, and this is what the advent of AI is going to
do
amplify
more.
Of.
They're going to take the human part out of it.
Right.
You'll be talking to a computer.
And you'll be, whatever you're saying with your filter and your preconceived notions about yourself, and all those expectations will come out of your mouth or typed out, and the AI will only have that information and then give you what fits a protocol based on that very superficial two-dimensional picture of yourself.
Are you trying to say that the AI doesn't care about you?
It doesn't know your body language. It doesn't see that you're sitting like this. It doesn't realize that you have tension in your eyes. It will miss all the things a good doc. The interesting thing about the AI is that it won't notice your subtleties.
Well, it's not conscious.
It's not conscious, so it doesn't pick up the heart image that a doctor does. A healer
There's no
looks
empathy
for the body language
at all.
Zero
There's no
empathy.
connection. There's no spiritual piece to this at all.
But
there's not even any emotional piece to it. It's simply a brain-centered, rational approach to yes or no questions, thinking that if you do that, you can at least make a diagnosis. And maybe you can, but you're not going to know what to do, really, if you're going to heal somebody. Right. You might cure them, but you're not going to heal them.
It'll be a diagnosis based on the most superficial information, which is what typical symptom relinquishing is, right? I'm going to relinquish that symptom. The average person is happy with that because they want to get out of their symptoms. They'll never heal. They'll never fully heal.
How could you? Because healing is a spiritual event that has physical manifestations.
But the average person has been so dumbed down or shut down and not listened to. So if they have an AI that seems like it's listening to them at that low level, the bar is so low of being listened to nowadays, the average person doesn't feel heard. So if there's even a semblance of being heard, even if it's an illusory listening, people are happy with it. And I think we have to be really careful with that. What does it mean? What does it feel like to you to be heard? What does that mean?
It's everything, because that's how you communicate. I want you to know how I feel. A computer isn't going to know how I feel or what's important to me. All it's going to have is words that trigger certain kinds of responses from the computer that are going to maybe tell you some things that are useful in terms of what's wrong with you, but it's not the same as when somebody cares about you. See, listening is part of it, but caring is the bigger part of it. And if you don't have those two things together, then what have you got? You know, you're getting incomplete relationship.
That's why it's called artificial. They don't call artificial intelligence. It's like they're telling you up front that be prepared. This isn't real, because real is the heart. That's what makes humans humans.
That's right.
So there may be good things about AI, and that's not what this conversation is about. This conversation is about listening.
Yeah.
And when we define
listening and caring,
because they're implicit that there's caring and listening. That's why when they say you have two ears and one mouth, you should spend twice as much time listening than speaking. So when you have this idea that I'm going to listen and I'm going to have my heart engaged empathetically, it takes a human to do that. And it takes a centered human, a heart-centered human to do that.
A lot of doctors are robotic.
Because they've been dumbed down, they've been trained that what's in the books is the answer. And as soon as you come close to fitting some kind of a stereotype patient for that particular demographic and disease, they zoom in on the solution. And they stop watching you crying about the emotional issue that you had and never address that.
When I was in medical school, they told me I was a scientist. I should detach from my patient.
Oh, my heavens.
I would have no connection with them. I should never have a social relationship with them. We don't go out to dinner. We don't go out to lunch. We don't have any kind of partnership in life. And I thought, if they don't know me and I don't know them, how am I going to work things out here in what's called a relationship? It's not going to happen. And as time rolled on and I finished all my training, knowing that that was a stupid thing for them to say, I proved to myself that I was right.
Right.
And that you have to care about what's happening. And if you like somebody, what's wrong with having a relationship with them? You have to be detached from someone. It's not just a scientific endeavor. It's got feeling that connects with it.
But the system will tell you not to.
It does.
Because when you don't comply with that, shutting off the relationship with the person, and you listen to the person, you'll realize that what you're being told is wrong. That's the sad part.
Some of those beautiful parts of being a doctor is being with somebody who's dying that you can't do anything for, and you can just be with them. You might hold their hand. You might say a prayer with them. You might just sit there in silence. Rather than coming in, looking at the chart, oh yeah, it's you, Mr. Jones, rather than the gallbladder in room 425, right? A lot of that. If you could get rid of that and just be personal and connected, it means so much to the patient to know that you care about them. Yeah. Not that you're just some independent intellectual source that's making decisions based on what laboratory work says and how they look.
And how many times does healing take place in that moment when you're listening to somebody and they finally feel heard, they feel seen? Because heard means also seen. We live in a 5-sense world. Right? We are trapped by our 5 senses, but we're also defined by our 5 senses, and that's okay. We also have a 6th sense.
I was just going to say there is.
Or maybe more than 6s, but let's say a 6th in a metaphoric way, that there's something beyond the feeling and touch and the sight and sound. Right. So if we're trapped in just take the feeling out and we're just in the sight and the sound and the smell and the touch, that's such a limited perspective.
That's what you're taught too.
And that's what you're taught. Shut it down to the most refined way of observing. Well, you've cut your heart out at that point. You cut their heart out, and you haven't listened to the intuitive senses.
You become the computer.
Right. You become the AI. You become artificial. So I don't blame artificial intelligence on anything technology.
It isn't the problem.
The humans have become artificially intelligent.
Yeah.
We have allowed ourselves to become artificially intelligent. That's why we think it's so great. Everybody's saying how wonderful AI is. Well, that's because you have already become an artificial human.
Yeah, well,
it's a sad commentary, but it is.
Yeah, well, we crave connection, and it needs to be personal, and it's okay to do it in a social setting. I've had lots of friends who are patients that I'll go out to dinner with.
It's beautiful,
and we enjoy each other, and the caring becomes special.
And the trust.
The trust is huge.
How do you help somebody on any kind of counseling, healing, friendship path if you don't have trust?
Well, when somebody walks into my office, my goal is to hear them, really hear them. And I might listen to them for 20 minutes or 30 minutes or half an hour or even more sometimes, because eventually they'll tell you what the diagnosis is in their own words. And if you listen even longer, they'll tell you what they need.
Right.
You don't have to do anything. except be present and concerned. And if you're smart, as they're telling you what's happening, as they're telling their story, you'll see what the diagnosis is, and you'll see what to do. And it's not the same. The same diagnosis doesn't mean the same treatment.
Correct.
In everybody, because everybody is different. There are no two people on the planet that are the same. 8 billion people, no two people the same. Do you think maybe listening could be something important that will tell you how this person's different? It's not like you can take out the Merck manual, which is a book that tells you the diagnosis and then what the treatment is. And it's cookie cutter for everything. That's the furthest thing from being a healer that I can imagine. And just because you can make symptoms go away, you got to ask at what price? What's going to happen to this person, their family? What's their whole life story? You got time to do that?
That's right. Plus, when we realize that the illness or the disease or even the symptoms sometimes are sometimes even the disease or the symptom or the illness is a messaging from our subconscious. Right? It's our intuitive side saying, hey, something's gone wrong and we need to pay attention to this at the deeper level. Not the physiological problem, but the emotional,
that's
spiritual
the reflection.
Part. Right. It's a reflection and it's a messaging. And we have shut down that messaging and we can only listen to that through our intuitive mind.
That's right.
It's the only way. And that's our heart mind. That's our heart-centered empathy. And that's why you can say, I can listen and that person will reveal who they are, what they need, and what the solution is. But that only comes from a heart resonance, intuitive place.
Yeah, well, it's about the personal side of it. It's the caring. It's the connection between you that has the effect. It's the energy fields change the whole vibrational relationship between the people that are involved. Yeah. And if you take that out of the equation, you're simply missing out at what's going on at the deepest level, because as we've said so many times in the videos that we've made, it's the relationship that does the healing. It's not the biochemistry by itself. If you have a problem that's originating at a spiritual level, which I think there always is,
and there always is,
then you can treat that, and that's the root cause. Or you can go in there with drugs and surgeries and technologies that take away the manifestations of that spiritual disorder. But you're treating the symptoms then. You're not treating the cause. Yeah. So listening and caring and being involved so that it matters to you what happens is what being a good healer is all about.
Yeah. And what I've learned too is that when the symptoms have been addressed only and the person feels good about it, the subconscious messaging of what was the core emotional or spiritual piece now has to be louder the next time. Because that's one beautiful thing is we're all evolving consciousness. And I think our drive is to become a whole person and to trust that we're already healed. So if we're in the illusion that we are sick and we're broken, then that messaging is going to get louder and louder. And that's just why we see somebody who has one set of symptoms and they get worse the next time, and the chronic problem gets worse, and then they get the cancer, and then they die.
Yeah, well.
It's because it will cascade. So if we want to wake anything up in people, is don't let that cascading process happen. Catch it at the earliest level and say, as hard as it is, I'm going to face my emotional, spiritual components that may have allowed this to happen.
That takes somebody who's a really good listener, is really smart, and really cares, because it's not what we're taught in our training as doctors.
But it also takes a patient to be able to listen enough, deep enough.
For sure.
So you know, it takes everybody's. What they say.
It's a team. It's a partnership.
It's a team. What they say, it takes a community to raise a child.
Oh yeah.
It takes a team to heal.
Yeah.
And we can't expect to do it all on ourselves. We can. I mean, it's possible, but the average person really needs to surrender to somebody who can coach them, and that coach has to be open enough to say the real healing is taking place inside this person I'm with, and I'm a guide or I'm a facilitator. Yeah. And you're a good facilitator because you're a good listener. And when people feel heard, they've taken the first step to healing.
Amen.